Yo, Atlas speaking and welcome to a brand new series on the channel. What if I was reborn into an alternative Pokemon world as a legendary Pokemon adventurer? Synopsis: a man from an Earth gets the choice to start over in any universe and chooses an alternate Pokemon universe. After carefully picking out his build and setting himself up with special abilities, he entered the new world determined to begin his life anew, the start of a legendary adventure. Check out the author linked in the description, and without further ado, let the tale begin. Chapter 1: Afterlife. A white, clean, and orderly office. That's what comes to mind when I look around the space I suddenly found myself in. I just popped onto the chair sitting in front of the desk of a person in a white suit with a handsome, androgynous face. The person seems to be waiting for me to speak to him. That's the gender that I assume the person has, at least, because he simply observes me while I am looking at my surroundings. Focusing on him, I start speaking. Sue, I am either dreaming, and it's a semi-lucid one, because I can't control it, but I am aware of what's happening, or I am dead and you're going to explain to me what's going to happen next. The fact that I am not freaking out at least a little bit and the calm I am feeling is probably thanks to you as well, I assume? He seems to be at least a little amused since he smiled a bit and answered. Yes, you're right. You're calm because we don't want you to be panicking and unnecessarily prolonging the process. We may have all the time we need, but that does not mean we should waste time for unnecessary things that can be avoided. You are also right with the dead part. You died and now you're here, so we can get you assigned to your afterlife category so that you can be on your way? Okay. So I am dead and I am going to be told where I am going next. That's okay. I seem to be strangely accepting of that fact. That probably has to do with them as well, a little bit creepy with the emotion control, but ultimately okay with me, because that's better than mindless panic. Hopefully I get to go to heaven. At least if I have to make a judgment myself, I believe I was a generally good person during my time on Earth. I may have not been the nicest person, but certainly good, or at least okay. I wonder how the assignment works and which belief or non-belief was right. Well, seeing that I am here somewhere wrong at least. Concentrating on him, he should be an angel in that case, or at least an equivalent. Well, being identified as an angel should be better than afterlife clerk. So that's what I will consider him as. Time to ask for some information. Okay, so I get assigned to my afterlife here. So, how does the whole assignment work? A folder appeared before him and he opened it, scanning it for a bit before he asked me. Do you want the short explanation or the long one? You don't necessarily have to know how everything works to get assigned. I now have the chance to learn how the afterlife works and what happens to us after death. Naturally, I am going to choose the long one. It is what I believe everyone in my position would choose. I will take the detailed explanation, please. He chuckled and began talking. First, you should know that there are 3 categories a soul can be assigned to: hell, reincarnation, and heaven. Which category a soul gets assigned to and what is going to happen in said category depends on 2 factors: karmic balance and the soul's belief during its life. The karmic balance is the sum of the good and bad deeds of a soul during his or her life. It is what decides which category a soul gets assigned to. Every soul starts with a balance of 0. Good actions, depending on the action and the intent behind said action, increase the karmic balance of the soul. Bad actions, meanwhile, decrease the karmic balance. The intent behind an action is important because the amount of karma increases and decreases with it. The bad actions, for example, have exceptions. Those being certain bad actions done with good intentions, such as lying to not excessively hurt someone's feelings or to save an innocent person. In such situations, the amount of bad karma is minimal or non-existent. The same applies to positive karma. If a person helps someone financially because they want to lower taxes, he or she still gets positive karma because they still helped someone, but the amount is the lowest possible amount for SALT. Action. If they do it to simply help or to somehow use said action, influences the amount of positive karma. Here I had to cut in, because I wanted to know if that wasn't unfair towards certain people. Sorry for interrupting you. I know it does not apply to me personally, but what about rich or affluent people or people whose job it is to help people? I mean, okay, I understand and agree with the intent part, but at the end of the day they still decided to help in some way, didn't they? Just to be clear, the situation with the one poor person donating everything or nearly everything getting more positive karma than the rich guy donating much more does not apply, does it? Or a firefighter saving lives during his job? He seemed amused by my question but answered nonetheless. The answer to your question is already in my explanation. The rich may get the minimal amount of positive karma per person for their action, in this case, but the number of people helped can make up for the difference. They may need to help 100 or 1,000 people to gain the same amount the poor person gets helping one individual, but they can still reach the same amount or even surpass it. The same applies to the firefighter. They may get a decreased amount of positive karma depending on why they chose that job. If it was to help, the prestige, or simply because it paid well. The number of lives saved should still make up the difference. If it does not, it's mostly because of said firefighter, him or herself. He looked at me to see if I understood it, which I did, and continued. Like I explained, the karmic balance is what decides which category a soul gets assigned to. To be assigned to hell, a soul has to have a certain amount of negative karma in its balance. The same applies to heaven with positive karma. I'm not going to tell you the exact amount necessary because that's against the rules set by my superiors. Here I wanted to interrupt him again to ask about his superiors, but decided against it because of the look he shot me when I opened my mouth, and simply continued to listen to his explanation. Everyone else with a balance in between get assigned to reincarnation. It is a soul's belief in life that decides what happens to said soul once it has been assigned to a category. Let's start with reincarnation. It is the category most souls land in, unfortunately. A soul that land here has two outcomes depending on its belief during life before being assigned to a new life according to its karmic balance. The hard reset and the soft reset. Those that believed in nothing or that death is the end, get a hard reset. This means they get kind of deleted. It is still the same soul, but it becomes blank and gets a totally new life as a new being. In this case, it gets an average new start as a sentient and sapient species. Here I couldn't help myself and interrupted. So, I see you said a sentient and sapient species instead of human. He seemed to have expected me to interrupt him and simply answered my question. Yes, I did. Every species with sentience and sapience in existence lands here someday. They can be human like you or some pseudo-immortal being seen as a god or goddess somewhere. As long as it is inside existence, it's going to land here no matter how long it takes. Some only get here at the end of existence, but they all get here. Not all species get instructions or guidelines to help with their actions and karma, but everyone gets judged based on their actions during their existence. The requirement for the categories may differ, but it still depends on the soul's behavior. Okay, so like the box theory. I know that one. Everything we can imagine, no matter how absurd or unbelievable, exists somewhere inside the box. As long as we can imagine it, it's inside the box. So what he says is that in some universes, I guess, these other species exist, or even some form of afterlife, but they are still inside the box, and someday they still land here in the afterlife outside the box. Got it. He nodded at me even though I haven't said anything but only thought about all that, but mind reading seems simply par course in this situation. So I am going to ignore that, like I'm ignoring the calming effect, and continue to listen to him. It might be a new life, but it is still in its universe of origin. The hard reset is only for those who think death is the end of existence, since we simply fulfill their expectations. Individuals that believe in hell or evil receive a hard reset as well to get rid of chaotic/unstable elements, because we don't want to reintroduce those. Everyone else who believes that something happens after death, it does not necessarily have to be a religion, simply some non-destructive belief stating that something bigger exists, agnostics count here, receives a soft reset. Contrary to the hard reset, you don't get erased during the soft reset. Your memories get buried, so to say, deep inside your soul, and you, depending on your karmic balance, get a new life. Depending on how high your positive or negative balance is, your new life start is better or worse. If the soul manages to make it to heaven later on, it unlocks its previous memories and they seamlessly mesh, since you are still you. Okay, so reincarnation is a new start, without the memories of your previous life, for all non-destructive believers. The difficulty of the new start in life depends on your karmic balance, and you get your memories back if you make it to heaven. Everyone else becomes a blank soul and starts anew with an average start. Unlike what some may think, for souls that make it to hell, the karmic balance and belief matter as well. We have two groups here as well. The first group of non-believers and believers in evil, and the second group consisting of believers. Members of both the first group and the second group that land in hell receive their punishment. The severity and duration of said punishment depends on their negative balance and their sincere attitudes, in this case regretting their actions. The form of punishment can vary according to their belief as well. The main difference between the two groups lies in the outcome after their punishment. The first group gets a hard reset. The second group gets a soft reset. For those that get a soft reset, there are two differences for their new start compared to the reincarnators. 1. Their start gets less worse the less their negative balance was, but they still don't get an average or good start. 2. In their new life they get some sort of warning for the punishment they went through, some kind of feeling that they should not do it, in case they try to do something they got punished for. This can be ignored since it happens subconsciously. Okay. After the reincarnation bit, hell happens kinda like I expected it to. So that only leaves heaven. All souls that gather the necessary amount of positive karma in their karmic balance to enter heaven may do so, regardless of their belief. But the karmic balance and belief of the soul play a role here as well. Depending on the belief, the soul gets assigned to a version of heaven fitting their belief. In case of believers, the luxury, vastness, abilities, and so on of their part of heaven depends on their karmic balance. Non-specific believers get assigned to a part of heaven that they fit in the best. Non-believers all get assigned to the same part of heaven, while they all get the same minimal package compared to the believers, no matter their karmic balance. But it is still heaven, meaning great, no matter how minimal the package is in comparison to the believers. I expected as much after the previous explanations. It may seem unfair to some, but I think it is fair. Every soul gets what it expects, and some even gain more, so they have no right to complain. Now I wonder where I get assigned to, hopefully heaven. That's how the afterlife mostly works. So let us get to your case. I looked through your file and you definitely don't go to hell. I definitely felt that pause there. Is he trying to build suspense here? That's something I can do without. It is already a nerve-wracking situation without showmanship. Ah, he smiled. He's absolutely doing it on purpose. Well, hell was something I personally didn't think I would land in, so that was kind of expected. But still can't presume to know for sure where I will go and if heaven is a possibility, which is why that pause frightened me. He seems to continue, let's hear my future destination. Reincarnation seems out as well. You know what, I just have to ignore it. Congratulations, you get to go to heaven. Is what he said, when I screamed. Yes, woo. I did it. I knew being a good person would be worth it one way or another. Awesome. Chapter 2, Afterlife. A short while after my outburst, the angel continued speaking. Now that you have been assigned to heaven, Mikhail, we can send you towards your new destination. Ignoring the fact that he only used my name after it was clear that I don't get wiped clear or buried in my own soul, I stopped him from sending me away. I have some questions that I want to ask before that. Walt, please. I have a few questions that I would like some answers to if possible. He seemed relaxed, which is good for me. That means he does not mind me stopping him. I would not want to upset the guy sending me to heaven, even if it is his job to do so. He paused for a moment and spoke to me afterwards. Sure, you can ask your questions, if you have any. You do not need to worry about wasting any time. You have all the time you need inside this place. He seemed to know that I was afraid of wasting his time and upsetting him. Which I should have known, with mind reading and all that. At least I have the green light to ask away. So, let's start. You mentioned in your explanation of the reincarnation process that the soul gets sent to his own universe. I have a few questions concerning that and more. Is that thing with your own universe as the destination always the case? Can a soul be sent to another universe? Do the universes mentioned in stories and fiction exist? Because they should if my box example is right. If they do exist, is it possible for a soul from any universe to get sent to one of those fiction universes? After firing a few questions, I focused on him. He seemed amused more than anything else as he started answering my questions. Let us answer your questions in the order you gave them. The process of reincarnation always sends a soul to its own universe, unless the soul fits better into another universe because of some change that happened to it. Mind you, this nearly never happens, because a soul is naturally aligned to its home universe and something monumental needs to happen to change that. It has happened before, which is why I said nearly never, but it is so rare that the number is exceedingly small even if we look at the whole of existence. This also answers your second question. Yes, a soul can get sent to another universe. It's just really, really, really rare. Your next question has actually been answered in my previous explanation about the afterlife and existence. Your own realization about the box gave you a decent example. So, yes. The universes mentioned in stories and fictions in your own universe exist in some form or the other somewhere in existence. It fits with your box analogy. Everything you can think of exists somewhere in existence. Things you cannot think of probably exist somewhere in existence as well because you are limited in your imagination by your limited knowledge. So, things you couldn't think of have been thought of by someone that could. Now to the last question. Yes, like previously mentioned, it is possible to get sent to one of those universes. The possibility is impossibly small, but it could still happen. It has not happened in your universe yet, because it should be clear from my explanation about the afterlife that reincarnation is not a reward. It is something those that can't get into heaven but don't deserve hell are assigned to. A soul anomaly has not happened in your universe yet, so no one was sent to another universe that way as well. You can go on with your next questions, if you want to. I will answer what I am allowed to and will tell you in case I am not. Okay, that was informative. There being limitations to what I am allowed to know is nothing surprising and should be obvious. Let's see, from what I understood, the thing I want should be possible if it is allowed. He only said reincarnators don't have that option, and it seems that no one who was allowed to heaven before me wanted to do it, or the price to do it was too high for them. Which I can totally understand. Why would they give up eternal life in heaven for it? I mean, most of what they can experience that way, they probably could wish for in heaven. So giving up the chance to go to heaven for the chance to travel to one of those fictitious universes may not be worth it for most, or may seem silly. Especially if they could lose the right to enter heaven after their second mortal life. Before I could ask my question, the angel started answering me. Mind reading and all that, you get used to it. Yes. What you're thinking about is possible. It has its consequences and conditions like you thought, and they are not limited to possibly losing the right to enter heaven after your hypothetical second life. These conditions and consequences are the reason no one in your universe has done so before. I knew it. Most of what you can experience there you can experience in heaven risk-free. I say most because some things can only be experienced as a mortal. Those experiences could be stimulated, but without the consequences a mortal has to suffer, they simply aren't the same. Until now, no one thought those differences were worth the price. That is understandable. A fitting comparison should be reality and virtual reality. Most would rather play a fighting game that feels realistic in a virtual reality without having to experience the consequences afterwards than go out and fight in reality. So if you want to do it, you can make your request and we will go over the consequences and conditions of it. Afterwards you can decide if you want to do it or if you would rather go to heaven like those before you. That is about what I expected. So all that is left is for me to learn what the price is and if I believe it is worth paying. Okay, I would like to know if it would be possible for me to travel to another universe instead of going to heaven, and if it is, where can I travel to? Can I choose anywhere I want to? Is it possible to choose the living conditions and looks for my second life? Can I get any form of help to make my second life easier, since I am giving up the opportunity to go to heaven for it? Those are the main questions I would like answered, except for the information concerning the consequences and conditions for my trip. Those I would like to know as well. He began to answer me as soon as I was done speaking. For a moment I was wondering if I even need to verbalize my questions, with him being able to read my mind, but I decided that I like to speak more than the alternative. Because to me it feels more normal to speak and I feel better this way. Which is probably why he, normally, waits for me to speak before he answers me. Let us answer the questions in order. Yes, you can travel to another universe. You would need to use the karma in your karmic balance as a price, but it is possible. I am not allowed to tell you the amount of karmic points you have, but I will tell you what percentage of your balance the request would cost you. You can choose any destination you want, but the price may differ according to said universe. The same applies to the living conditions and looks of your second life, as well as any help you could choose. It is more of a question of can you afford it and is it worth the price. Now let's start with consequences and conditions. The most obvious one is that you give up the right to enter heaven. That means you have to earn said right again in your second life. Now here is a point that drives away most. You have to pay karmic points to keep your memories during your second life, otherwise they get buried like it happens to the reincarnators, and that kind of beats the purpose of a second life. But that's not all. Since you keep your memories and know about the afterlife, the requirements to enter heaven are raised and for hell they are lowered. Not only that, good actions give you 75% of the positive karma you would have gotten otherwise, and bad actions give you 123% of the negative karma. You also cannot ask to forget about the afterlife, since that's forbidden. So no partially keeping memories. At least you don't have to pay for any knowledge you might have about your destination. That is a big consequence. Especially since he did not mention yet by how much the requirements were raised. At least I now know that I could travel to another universe. The possibility of bypassing the memory costs has been voided as well. Let's continue to ask my questions. By how much would the requirements increase and decrease respectively, and are my memories safe from possible mind reading in the new universe? He smiled while he answered me. You would need 10 times the amount of positive karma you need now to qualify for heaven, and 10 times less the amount of negative karma to be sent to hell. As for your second question, your memories about the afterlife and what you experienced and learned here are automatically safe. But the fact that you were originally not from that universe and all your memories of your previous life, including possible future knowledge of said universe, could be read by others. That being said, your integration into that new universe would be perfect and it would turn you into a native like the others living there, so you would not be automatically or immediately seen as an intruder. This means that you would have to encounter someone that actively tries to read your mind and memory, or you would have to do something that would make someone actively seek you out to do the same. Otherwise you would seem native to everyone there. Steep. That is what I feel about that price. But it is what it is. No use to cry over something I can't change. That memory part is going to cost me, I can feel it. How much would it cost me to make my mind safe from anyone outside the afterlife? He answered. 15 to 20% depending on the universe. Expensive. Why is it so expensive? It should not be that much. Walt, let's change the phrasing of that question. How much to protect my memories before the second life from being seen by anyone outside of the afterlife? He seemed happy because of my actions. 3%. That's less than I expected. What a difference. There has to be a reason for it. What's different? Let's add to it and see what changes. Even if I actively think about my past life or about knowledge based on said memories, they should not be able to learn of it. 4%. Was his answer. Still cheaper than I thought. If they try to read my mind and I happen to use my past memories, instead of getting nothing they should see something logical. I also want to know what they are shown in case they ask me about it. 5%. Is all he said, like he was waiting for more changes. Let's see what else has to be added. My memories are safe, but my mind still isn't. I want my mind to be protected as well. It doesn't have to be automatically safe from possible higher beings if they exist in the new universe, but I don't want everyone being able to access my mind if that ability exists there. So I want a strong, logical, passive shield that seems natural to protect my mind from all except the strongest beings there, until I can learn something better myself if that option exists. 7% came from him. That is a good price. My memories and mind are safe, and I got a kind of mini ability out of it in the form of a mind shield. What else has to be considered for my memories? Oh, I know. I also want to, while perfectly keeping my memories, be free from any negative influence they could have on my new life. Including but not limited to, not being able to form normal bonds and family bonds, taking everything or everyone as fake or not serious, unnecessary fear and paranoia, and the likes. This way my memories are perfectly organized and I get to perfectly recall them. No knowledge loss for me, which is awesome, and another mini ability. This way I do not only get to have the positive aspects of past memories and can live my second life as what it is, a second life. I am also still able to experience negative emotions, but not those I would have felt because of my past. This way I can accept my possible new parents as such and make new bonds and experiences without them being marred by my first life. How they do it, I don't really care, but I feel it is necessary to really live my new life. If we add that to the previous cost, then the final is 9%. That is an acceptable price for me and everything I need in regards to my memories and mind that I can think of right now. I have been told the consequences and conditions for a second life. I can accept those for now since they make sense in a way. I have prepared the basis for a possible trip, so let's see the options and their corresponding prices. Afterwards I can decide if it is worth it and if I want to go through with it. That is all concerning my memories and mind for now. I also know of the possible consequences of my desire for a second life. Now I would like to know my options and their price. That way I can decide if I want to go through with it or not. He seemingly smiled at my need to speak about things I thought about and summoned a binder of sorts before addressing me. This binder has all universes you can afford to travel to and their price. He gave me the binder, allowing me to look through it, so that I can choose my destination. Chapter 3 Choices. Opening the binder full of introductions of universes, the first thing I saw was a table of contents. It was numbered as page 199 million, and that was just the table of contents. These are just the realities I could theoretically afford to visit. I cannot imagine how high that number would have been for every universe. Seeing the vast list, I was thinking that this slim binder has to work with some form of reality or space manipulation, and that this was going to take a while. Right then the angel gave me some help. You can use speech or touch to use the binder if you don't want to leaf through it. A filter can be used to limit the search. You can also search for a specific page with a universe, a group of specific universes like every Terminator universe, or a main category like cultivation as well. So it works the same way a tablet does, so why does it resemble a binder then? Probably a preference of the angel. Let's focus on our search. First, remove every universe that costs more than 20% of my karmic balance. Wow, the table of contents halved. Okay, that probably removed nearly every cultivation universe, because I can imagine them being pretty expensive. Next, let's remove all realities that are mundane or nearly mundane. So those with no or minimal fantasy elements in it. That left me with about 10 million pages. Okay, zombies and the lot as a main theme can go as well. 7 million left. That was a great amount of zombie universes. Nah, can't be. It was probably the addition of the lot that made such a difference. What else can I add? There have to be humans in there. Wow, I didn't think that it would make such a difference. 3 million left. The angel chimed in at that. It also removed any universe without any pure humans. So, even if there were subhuman races, they would still be taken out. Makes sense to me. A universe without humans, I wonder what it would be like. What else can I use as a restriction? It has to be a universe where it is possible to significantly lengthen my lifespan. It should, theoretically, be possible for anyone in some way. 500,000 pages left, that took a chunk away. I like Marvel and DC, but I don't want anything to do with Thanos, the Beyonder, and any of the other psychos. Maybe another time, if there ever is another time. So remove any Marvel and DC verses and those linked to them, and while we're at it, let's remove Star Wars, Star Trek, and the universes resembling them. 100,000 still remain. How about choosing something with some form of taming as a theme? That was always my favorite. 20,000 left over. All universes that are similar to Digimon, Pokemon, Shin Megami Tensei, and Yokai Watch. There still are 10,000 pages left. Man, are there many universes out there. I probably should have made this requirement from the start, but I didn't wish to limit my options immediately. Let's have a look at the first few pages of the remaining table of contents. Why are there still Harry Potter verses here? Let's remove those and those like it. That's better, about 2,000 are left. Maybe if I add a familiarity requirement to Digimon, Pokemon, Shin Megami Tensei, and Yokai Watch, I can decrease the pages to a reasonable number. Let's set it to 40%. 900 are left over. What if we raise it to 50%? There still are 600 pages, but I can live with that. Let me read the 600 pages of table of contents. Reading that took a while. Well, at least it allowed me to think about my choice some more. I think out of all of them, my favorite are the verses of Pokemon and Digimon, so that's what we're going to filter. Wow, there are surprisingly still 10 pages remaining. That's way more realities than I would have thought possible for just these two. Let me focus on just Pokemon then, since I like that one a bit more. 4 pages. I would have most likely screamed at myself about how I should have done that from the very beginning if I had to endure someone doing this in front of me. But I don't, and this is an important choice, so I have to consider everything. Sorting the universes by price brings all universes strongly resembling canon, be they anime or games, to the top. The reason for that is probably the existence of the problem-solving MC. I mean, Ash does some crazy things, I am not going to lie. Okay, limiting the cost to at most 10% brings that list down to 1 page. Now, let's see. All of them are alternate universes. That's okay, I can live with that. Time to compare them all. I think I have the one that I am going to choose. I like the overview of this universe the most. The overview focuses only on the planet that I am going to be born in and gives a short summary, but I still think this one is the best. Pokeverse 6942. The price of this Pokeverse is 9%. The planet of the Pokemon world is called Terra by its inhabitants. All I got about the solar system is that it has a single sun that Terra circles, since the overview focused on Terra. Terra has 15 times the radius of Earth. That makes the surface area of Terra nearly 226 times that of Earth. Terra has roughly 1350 times the mass of Earth, which results in a gravity of about 6 g, meaning 6 times Earth gravity. A single year has 36 months. A month has 30 days. A week is still 7 days, and a day has 24 hours. 1 hour is still 60 minutes, and a minute is 60 seconds. There are 6 seasons on Terra: spring, growth, summer, harvest, autumn, and winter. Because of the 6 times greater gravity, all adults seem naturally, without additional training, 2 times stronger than even the strongest human on Earth at least. This explains some of the stuff Ash and the others keep pulling off, like carrying hundreds of kilograms and still being able to run and jump around. The natural life expectancy of standard humans on Terra is around 100 Terran years, that is equal to 300 Earth years. Training, getting stronger, and bonding with Pokemon can increase that number. The mystery of the slow or non-existent growth of Ash and the others in the anime can be explained this way as well. The planet has a 60% water to 40% landmass ratio. There are 2 supercontinents, 6 great continents, 24 continents, and countless islands on Terra. Their size in this comparison is relative to the whole surface area of the Earth, which is about 510 million square kilometers. This includes the area of all water bodies and landmasses. A supercontinent has n times the surface area. A great continent has 4 times the surface area. A continent has about 2 times the surface area. All islands combined have a bit more than 2 times the surface area of the Earth. The humans of Terra are currently only living on the edges of 4 of the continents near each other and on islands between them. There are settlements named like those we know about, but the sizes, distances, and proximities to each other are different. So there is a Kanto region, but it is bigger than shown to us. Distances between main cities is larger. The number of cities and town is higher. The distance between regions is larger as well. What is also mentioned in the overview is that there are more Pokemon species on Terra than publicly known on Earth, which is logical since it is a whole wide world. Even the Pokemon species known to us have many more variants. This was one of the main points that got me, the variants. Dragon-type Gyarados and friends, here I come. The relationship between humans and Pokemon is slightly different, and the Pokemon themselves are way stronger, or at least they can get way stronger. Legendary and mythical Pokemon are exactly that, and not the weaklings shown in our media. So, no challenging Mew or Lugia after the League or anytime soon after. They are beings that participated in the creation of Terra, at least the original ones did. As such, their powers are extremely high as well, and even their descendants are extremely powerful. That was all the information I could get from the overview. My choice is Pokeverse 6942. Now that I have chosen the place I want to travel to, can I determine my future living conditions and looks? The angel, that looked relaxed despite the long time it took me to choose, answered me in a mild manner. Go ahead, but remember that depending on your choices the cost is going to increase. The total cost is currently 18%. You still have 82% of your karmic balance left. 82% should be enough for all of my plans. I wish to be given to a relatively well-off family, with both parents alive and well. My parents should be in their mid-20s during my birth. I would not want them to be too old, since I would prefer to spend a long time together with my new family. It would be better if my parents are normally incapable of getting children despite their wish for 1. Except for their incapability to have children, they have to be perfectly healthy and under no risk of getting hurt or killed for one reason or another. I neither want or need a tragic backstory. The specifications this far would turn my birth into a personal miracle for them. This way I don't get siblings without some big interference, and I don't replace some other poor guy. I don't wish to start my new life with erasing someone else. That would not be good for my conscience. Should I desire some siblings somewhere along the road and my new parents yearn for another child as well, then I believe I can help them somehow. I probably ought to mention that I want to be male. I paused here and looked at the angel. *0, 5% for now. That's less than expected, so let's specify. I prefer black hair and dark brown eyes. Brown eyes mixed with green is okay as well. My future ideal height should be between 180 m and 155 m. The body type should be a natural swimmer/athlete body, that means lean and compressed muscles. My skin tone should be between ivory and warm beige. That's what I'm used to, so I would like to keep it that way. In this vein, I would like to be named Mikhail this time around as well. I don't care about the new surname, so it could be anything. I want us to live in Kanto. The location should preferably be in a town somewhere between Viridian and Pewter City or between Pewter and Cerulean City. A medium-sized stand-alone house with a medium or large-sized garden would be great. 1%. Is what he said after I paused again. So let me add some conditions to my birth. I want a problem-free birth and some form of shield to keep my memories from myself until my little body has matured enough to walk, control my behind, and accept my mental activity without repercussions. While this growth process happens, I want the important memories, emotions, and experiences of my baby form to bypass the shield, so that I have access to them. This should help a seamless fusion between us after the shield opens and allows me to perfectly take over and carry on. This is done so that I have a bond with my new parents, so that I can see them as such and am spared the worst of a rebirth. The era I am born into should have an equivalent to most modern appliances. So inner plumbing, a heater, a fridge, toilet paper, and near-instant communication. 2% of your karmic balance. Good choice. I have chosen my destination and set my living conditions. My family and looks are the way I want them to. Did I forget anything? I think not. So, that leaves me with 80% for things, abilities, and knowledge that will help me in the future. Chapter 4, Choices. I am left with 80% for things, abilities, and knowledge that will help me in the future. I need to make a priority list for things I believe I will need and can afford. Then I have to see how many of those I can actually get. So, first some kind of status screen for myself and my future Pokemon. Not a system with quests and a shop, but just a display of the status. I want to be able to see my own progress and that of my Pokemon. I strongly believe that being able to track our progress should serve as great motivation. Some kind of observe/identify ability for materials, wild Pokemon, and other people is necessary as well, and complements the status screen. It could be added to that as an extra function. What else will I need? Knowledge of all kinds are necessary as well, I think. I mean, it is one thing to play Pokemon and a whole other beast to live in a Pokemon world. I cannot expect battles or even the journey to be like the games or anime. Leveling only through battles probably is not the only way to get stronger. Who says they have to measure strength with levels? The league and tournaments could be totally different too. This is why I need knowledge. Okay, I have a status screen, observability, and knowledge so far. What else do I need? Talent. Talent is an important factor, at least for people who want to reach the top of any food chain. The more talented I am, the easier it is to get stronger. The more areas I am talented in, the more paths to strength I have. Stronger talent also helps in compensating the time I need to spend on multiple paths. The overview mentioned that humans in this world have multiple ways to get stronger, but most have a requirement only people that possess certain talents fulfill. The two best talents I personally think a human can have here is an aura and psionic talent. Some of the best examples for humans that reached great heights in those fields are Sabrina, with psionics, and Aaron, with aura. I should focus on those and consider other talents afterwards. So, what else would help me significantly in the future? Some kind of inventory, or better yet my own private space. The farm space of that one transmigration story is the best example of a private space that I can personally think of, but I believe the farm is way too powerful. It has so many functions that are already overpowered on their own, which is why I do not believe that I can afford it. Maybe I can get a light version or a mini version, with less functions. If not, I will have to create something myself that will likely be based on that one. Let's see, I have a status screen, an observability, useful knowledge, talent, and my personal space. Have I overlooked something? Walt, does comprehension count as a talent? Whatever, it is important enough to be its own thing. I will need a strong comprehension to digest the knowledge I will ask for, and it will boost the training of my talents, so I will definitely have to ask for an increase. That should be enough. Hopefully I can afford all that, if not I will have to compromise. The others should not be a problem if I don't exaggerate, but it's the private space I am worried about. If it really is unaffordable, I will have to get some kind of inventory. That one I should be able to afford with no problem, but better ask for it and be denied than never having asked for it and missing out. Since I believe that at least some form of space should be affordable. Now I have to flesh out each point and ask the price each one has. Depending on the price, I will have to adjust each point, and at the end I can hopefully start my new life satisfied with what I got. I looked at the angel that was observing me all this while and started speaking. I have thought about everything I believe I will need. First of all, I want a status screen that works for me and my Pokemon. It should show me the following: name, species, genetic modifiers, potential, age, type, talents, affinities, bonds, quirks, practically ingrained habits, parameters of the body, mind and soul, techniques and masteries. The status screen should use my full knowledge base to fill itself, if the needed information is available. If unavailable, it should tap into the world energies or wherever to fill in the blanks, as long as it's not way above my pay grade. The specifics and margins I leave to you, along with anything you think is necessary to complete the status screen that I have missed. As for its format, I have one in mind. Please use that one. I am satisfied with this. It should, theoretically, cover everything. Genetic modifier is for variants, shinies, kings, royals, and whatever other genetic variations are out there. Talents and affinities are separate because talent is related to an action, but affinity focuses on the relation/compatibility with something. Elements, forces, or animals are some of the possibilities. The parameters of body, mind, and soul cover nearly everything I can think of. Stats, fatigue, illness, status conditions, feelings, stress, and so on. Pretty happy with that one, to be honest. Quirks can be good or bad. It could be anything from a hero syndrome to kleptomania. The Use My Knowledge first part 1 decided to add because of my other wish, request, or whatever you want to call it. This should decrease the cost, at least I hope so. I don't think I missed anything obvious or important, but that's what the second part is for. Before I forget, add an observe/identify function please, so that it works on wild Pokemon, other people, and materials. For materials it only has to show the name, quality, faults, and uses. Could you tell me the combined price and the individual prices? He smiled at me. Honestly, this angel seems to be the most patient and nice being I have ever seen. If there was a customer satisfaction survey in the afterlife, I would rate him 10 out of 5 stars. The combined price is 20% of your karmic balance, and the individual prices are 5% for the status screen and 15% for the observe function. Expensive. That observe function is way too expensive. It seems I have to limit it after all. I did kind of expect it to be this way if I'm honest, since observe is kind of an overpowered ability. Learning everything or nearly everything about someone is pretty powerful after all. I accept the price for the status screen and want to adjust the observe function. When observing a wild Pokemon or other people, it will show the status until the quirk part. Furthermore, the higher the difference in strength between the observed individual and us, meaning me and my Pokemon, the less comes up on the status screen. I won't change the material part. Definitely not changing the material part. That's going to be so useful for stones, berries, Regipless, and crafting. The cost of the observe function is 7% now. Still a bit high, but that probably because of the material part. The faults and uses part to be specific, but I won't change that. I can accept this much. If I urgently need some more karma for the other parts, one may come back, but for now this is acceptable. The angels looks at me and asks. The total cost is 12%. Do you accept? I do, is what I tell him. I did not give a positive answer to a marriage proposal. Why was that the first thing that came to my mind after saying I do? Never mind, the angel is speaking again. This leaves you with 68% of your karmic balance. You can list your other requests. Damn, that's one less than 69. God, what's wrong with me? I blame the internet of my past life. Whatever, so I have 68% left over. That should be enough. Let's get to the next point in my list. I want access to all knowledge the humans on Terra ever had on Pokemon, how to catch them, train them, raise them, take care of them, their behavior, their diet, and so on. In short, everything that has any connection to Pokemon. I also want everything that has to do with increasing the strength of humans. Some general knowledge about the planet and its inhabitants would be useful as well. Let's see how high the cost is going to be. I know that I probably cannot or barely afford it, the way it is right now, but having access to all that knowledge instantly is a huge temptation. Especially since things that have seemingly no connection to Pokemon are included in this, like farming. Why farming? Well, berries and other stuff are needed for a perfect nutrition plan. Since the best way for me to ensure a constant supply of high-quality ingredients is to grow them myself, farming is added. I also need to know how or where to procure all kinds of stuff. Another example would be Pokeball smithing. I need to know that, so I can make Pokeballs with the best environment for my Pokemon. These and much more should be part of the knowledge I will gain. The angel delivers the bill. You can't afford it. It would take 96% of your karmic balance. You don't have that much available. Wow. Just wow. I expected as much, but that's still a surprisingly high price. Like I thought, I will have to make some amendments to decrease the cost. First, let's add recorded knowledge to that along with a requirement to all professions. I receive some starting knowledge and have to meet certain conditions to get access to the next higher knowledge packet. I leave to you how you divide the knowledge and how many tiers you make. I just want to have the outline of the path, some ranking system that will be included in the starter pack. Let's see by how much this lessens the cost. Things like aura guardians, psychics, and mediums should be included in there as well. This means I won't instantly know how to become a grandmaster, but sacrifices have to be made. 30%. Even the angel knows that I will try to further reduce the cost with how short he kept that sentence. I will have to limit the general knowledge as well, it seems. I want to, instantly, have basic general knowledge, but everything else can have a strength requirement or some other conditions. Like I have to be a Tier 3 farmer for the information on where to get that rare berry I want and so on. But I want to have access to some knowledge if that information can help me in case of a serious emergency. An example would be being in the wild and me or my Pokemon getting seriously hurt and some herb or something can help. In such a situation, I want that knowledge. Earning money in an Easter fashion or something similar does not count as an emergency. Hopefully this will be enough. I am not sure if I want to set any more restrictions. Don't want to nerf my own wish more than I have to. 14%. Sold. I couldn't control myself. Fake auction reference or not. That was cheaper than I expected. My upper spending limit for this item was 18%. So, I was happy. You are left with 54% of your karmic balance. Go on, state your other wishes. 54% left and still 2 points on my list. Actually, 3 if we count comprehension separately. If I reserve 30% of my karmic balance for the private space, then I have 24% left for talent and comprehension. I hope I won't have to compromise too much. Next is talent. Chapter 5, Choices, 3. Talent is the next point on my list. I already decided to focus on psionics and aura first before I try increase anything else. These powers were portrayed as versatile and capable of incredible feats in the media of my previous life. The capabilities make sense to me, and my wish should guarantee that I become a powerful psychic and aura guardian, even if I have to give up increasing my talent and anything else for them. Because that is exactly what it is, an increase of the talents my future body will have, so hopefully I will be naturally gifted in some other areas. Let's ask for some talent scale, so I can visualize the talent increase and its effects better. Can you give me a talent scale, with an added description, please? It does not have to fully accurate but should give an approximate. He paused momentarily and gave me an answer. Sure, I can do that. Let's say there are talent points that represent how talented an individual is at something. In such a case, 0 to 9 talent points in something means that the individual has no talent in this particular subject. 10 to 19 points are the minimum needed to even start, but the talent in this area is terrible. No amount of hard work is going to ever amount to anything. You may create a spark but no fire, if we use the fire element as an example. 20 to 39 points means low talent, which is enough to achieve at least some things with enough effort. You may create a fireball, but that will be the most that can be achieved. 40 to 69 points indicate a medium talent. You can use the fire element, but being average is the best you're ever going to be. 70 to 89 points represents a high talent. You may never reach the top, but you are good and could even be great at it. 90 to 100 points indicate a top talent. This is the limit for normal individuals. You can reach the top percentile of a subject, but you will most likely never be the best, because there are always geniuses out there trying hard as well. 100 plus points represent supreme talent in a subject. This is the realm of geniuses. I interrupt him to ask some questions. Does the increase of talent points mean a linear increase in talent? How are geniuses categorized? Can a talent be increased in Terra? I receive my answers immediately. No, the increase in talent is not linear. I will give you an example. The numbers are not accurate and are just to help illustrate the situation. A boost of 10 points from 70 to 80 may raise your talent by 15%, but an upgrade from 100 to 110 may improve your talent by 40%. As for the categorization of geniuses, you may have heard a genius of the city, the region, the year, the world, the generation, the millennium, the history, and many more. I will give you 5 classifications as reference points. 120 points, biggest genius of the nearby cities. 160 points, star genius of the region. 190 points, best genius of the continent. 210 points, number 1 genius of the world. 240 points, greatest genius in history. Don't forget that these points only represent the talent of an individual in a single subject, in this case towards the fire element. This does not mean that someone can't be your equal through another subject even if you have reached the theoretical peak of your talent. Now, for your last question. Yes, talent can be increased on Terra, it's just really hard. The lower the initial talent, the harder it is to increase it, and such opportunities should not be wasted. I can already see the exponential price increase the higher I want my talent to be. That there are ways to increase the talent of an individual on Terra as well may have been obvious, but I had to be sure. You said the point example only gave an approximate. How much would it cost me to increase my talent in psionics and aura to about the level of someone with 240 points? Where would be the initial talent level of my future body? I highballed my request on purpose to see by how much I have to go down. Let's see what it ends up being. You can't afford such an increase. The psionic and aura boost would cost you 60% of your karmic balance. Psionics make up 36% of that, and aura the other 24%. As for your initial talent, your future body has a high-grade talent in psionics and a top-grade talent in aura. This is also the reason for the price difference. The numbers surprised me, and with that I mean my initial talent. The fact that my body was this gifted, inherently, was a pleasant surprise. That I didn't aim for a body with particularly high talents in my previous requests, which seems kind of neglectful now that I look back, only adds to my joy. Back to the high-priced talent increase. How much would it cost me to increase my talent in psionics and aura to about the level of someone with 190 points instead? The answer was instantaneous. The psionic and aura talent improvement would cost you 20% of your karmic balance. Psionics make up 12% of that, and aura the other 8%. That would have been fine if those two were the only things I have to increase, but there is still comprehension and the others. Let go down a bit more. How much would it cost me with 160 points instead? The total would be 12.5% of your balance. Psionics make up 7.5% of that, and aura the other 5%. An uneven number. How ugly it is. I will still have to approve it, because I don't want to go any lower and the fee is acceptable. That leaves me with 11.5% of the positive karma I have, since I previously allotted to 30% to the private space. Same scale as the talent one. I am fine with it only being roughly accurate. 160 points in comprehension, give me a price? He smiled at me, while answering me. It will cost you 11%. Now I know why he smiled. That's more than I planned for this one, but still a good price. Comprehension acts across the board. It is something you need in every subject compared to a talent in a single area, which is why it is more expensive. I am definitely going to accept the 11% for comprehension. Looks like I will have to cut into the balance I set aside for my private space if I want to somewhat increase my talent across the board like I plan to. I accept the price for the increase in comprehension. How much would it cost me if I want to increase my talent across the board to be between a medium and a high one, somewhere between 60 and 80 points? You have access to my memories, so use them to prioritize areas I would deem more important. Anything that would be deemed useless in my memories doesn't have to be increased. The areas where my talent is already in that range should be ignored as well. Please don't be too expensive. Please. I used your memories to make the selections like you wanted to, and the best outcome was 4.5%. Slowly exhales. I accept that price. This leaves me with 20% of my balance for the private space. I can live with that. 4.5% for the sheer number of areas that should have an increase in aptitude is already very good, since things like space and life should be amongst them. Now for the last point on my wish list. I would like to know the price of the complete farm from bringing the farm to live in another world. I would also like to know the prices of the farm without any attacking function. The answer came instantly. You can't afford either of those. Both farm models are way out of even your full budget. As expected, let's see if there's any chance to make it affordable. What if we take out the loyalty function too? Still unaffordable, was all he said. How about limiting the evolution of the space as well? Make the new limit the low-grade cultivation space. Does that make it affordable? No. Wow, single word replies. Last try before I attempt to design my own space inspired by the farm and see if I can make something I can pay for. Take out all advanced science and technology civilization stuff as well. You made it barely affordable now. The price is equal to 100% of your total karmic account. I give up. It was to be expected. That farm is one of the most overpowered abilities, gifts, or whatever you want to call it, ever. Even after nerfing the hell out of it, all I could do was lessen the price to my total budget. Which practically still means I cannot really afford it because I won't have any positive karma left to keep my memories or travel to another universe. Private space it is. I want a private space that is only accessible to me and those I allow to enter. Everything that enters my space is unable to harm me in any way from that point on. Everything that enters my space acquires a friendly attitude towards me upon entry. I want the initial size of the space to be big enough for a small single-family home with a medium-sized garden and a free space with up to a 5 meters radius around it. The house should be simply furnished. The size of the space, model of the house, or the furniture quality should increase when either the strength of my Pokemon or my own strength increases. I would like to know the price so far, please. The first 3 points are really nerf version of the farm one, but the price should still be small for now. The price is N% right now? That's a bit higher than expected, but that is probably because no one can force their way inside without my permission. Still, it is within my tolerance spectrum. Let us add to the space. Outside of the main space, I want my private space to have 4 subspaces. The subspaces should be 1/10 the size of the main space. 1 subspace for all fauna living on land. 1 subspace for all marine fauna. 1 subspace for all flora. 1 subspace for all kinds of minerals and materials. Anything raised in the subspace should be unable to develop sentience and sapience. This adds 3% to the price, so it is 13% for now? Good. Less than I thought it would be. I want my space to analyze anything that enters it. If it is a Pokemon, it should be genetically optimized as much as possible. This optimization should become stronger the bigger the space becomes. The health of all Pokemon and fauna should be kept in an optimal state if possible, and the space should inform me in case that it can't. This process does not have to be instant. Any Pokemon and fauna brought into the space has to procreate on its own, but any flora, seed, and material can be created and grown by the space for an energy cost. The environment of the subspaces get adjusted for its inhabitants. This energy for use accumulates passively every day. The amount of energy that the space receives come from 2 sources. One is the Pokeverse I will live in, and the other depends on the strength and number of all Pokemon and fauna staying inside the space and myself. 10%. Too high for now. Let's add some conditions. You can add stages to classify the growth of the space depending on its size and all analyzed data. The genetic modification, the healing rate, the creation of floral seeds and of materials as well as their growth, and the adjustments of the subspace environment depends on the stage of the space. The amount of energy the space can accumulate daily for use increases with the space's stage. 8%. The total cost for the space is 21% right now. That's okay. And don't think any more restrictions would be worth the price reduction it would create, since I added the environment adjustment for the subspaces. Let me add the finishing touches. Since the size of the main space increases with the strength and number of the Pokemon and myself, I want the created space to be adjusted for them as well. Everyone should receive the most optimal environment possible after being analyzed. If the type of a newly created area is identical to an already existing one, then an obvious border should be created if the species is different. They should be fused without borders if the species that will live there are identical. So if the new addition is a forest, the forest should be divided into areas for the different species. The borders should be obvious. The quality of the created environment should increase with the stage of the space. The space should also passively pass any energy it absorbs after meeting its daily quota of energy for use into its environment to enrich its own energy density compared to the outside. The maximum energy density difference can be dependent on the space level as well. That would be 5%. The total cost is 26% of your karmic budget. Perfect. That is everything I can think of right now that is strictly necessary in my opinion and not optional. Let me just go over everything again. Okay, everything is satisfactory. I accept the price. No need for any additional adjustments. You used 100% of your karmic balance. If you don't want to make any further changes, then we can begin with your reincarnation process. Came the question from the angel. I am ready, let's start. Is what I said. Good luck, and I hope you still manage to qualify for heaven after your second life ends. Was the last thing I heard from the angel before I blacked out. Chapter 6, New Start. One moment I was speaking to the angel, the next I am waking up in the body of a toddler. That does not sound nice. I wake up in my toddler body. Not that better, but it is what it is. Thanks to my wish I felt no discomfort or headache. It felt natural to be in my new body, which is good. Let's take stock of my new situation. Mikhail slowly closes his eyes while thinking. I am currently 55 months old, which is 1 year and 19 months on Terra with there being 36 months per year and all that. I was named Mikhail as I wanted and I am about 90 centimeters tall, which is slightly above average. My parents see me as a smart toddler that is well behaved and easy to raise compared to what they expected and heard about babies. My mother Arya Gio Nabel, and I believe it's great that I can think of her as my mother without feeling anything wrong with that, is about 172 centimeters tall. She has a slim body with medium-sized bust and rear cuff. Her hair is black and reaches a little bit past her shoulder blades. She has green eyes and white, cream-colored skin. She was 21 when I was born and is currently 22 years old. She is a gentle and caring mother and wife, at least that's the impression that I got so far. I would rate her looks an 8 out of 10 according to the standards of my old world. I don't know the beauty average of my new world yet, so I can only use the old one. Anyway, moving on. My father Edward Gio, also called Ed, is 179 centimeters tall. He has a lean body build and short black hair. He has brown eyes and white, ivory-colored skin. He was 22 when I was born and is currently 23 years old. He is a caring father and husband. I would give his looks a 7 out of 10. My looks are like I wanted them to be. I have black hair and brown eyes with green in there as well. My skin is white like that of my mother and I believe that I look cute, but normally all babies do. I should look good in the future, looking at my parents and my wishes. From the memories of conversations between my parents and people coming to our house that toddler me overheard, I learned that my grandparents died 10 years ago during a Pokemon tide that happened to the town we live in, which is Hope Town, a Tier 2 settlement. I still don't know if that is high or not, Anyway, the reason I spoke about Hope Town after talking about my grandparents' death is that the town is located in the outskirts of Viridian Forest between Viridian City and Pewter City. Since it's in the outskirts of the Viridian Forest, Pokemon attacks and tides are to be expected. Attacks and tides can happen anywhere it seems, especially near wild areas, and the people on Terra seem to have gotten used to it. After the death of my grandparents, my parents, who knew each other because their families were friends, had no other relatives and clung to each other. They stayed together afterwards and even went on their journey together. When both were 18, they decided to marry and tried to make children for 2 years without success. Before they had me, the doctors they went to told them that it will be nearly impossible for my mother to get pregnant. Which is why they call me their personal miracle sometimes. Moving on. We're living in a medium-sized 2-story house with a large garden. On the first floor is the living room, the kitchen, and a toilet. On the second floor is my parents' bedroom, my room, a room for their trainer/Pokemon stuff, and a bathroom. Our garden has a pond, a small artificial hill, a section with berries, a region for vegetables, and an area for flowers. Every other part of the garden is normal lawn. From what I have overheard, my parents spent 3 years as active trainers before retiring and becoming part of the Reserve Corps. My mother reached the junior class as a trainer and has 5 Pokemon she caught and trained during their journey. A Nidorina, her starter, a Butterfree, a Gloom, a Poliwhirl, and a Staryu. My father became a senior class trainer and caught and trained an Pokemon during their journey. A Nidorino, his starter, a Butterfree, a Pidgeot, a Crobat, a Seadra, a Magneton, a Rhydon, and a Growlithe. Their starters live in the artificial hill, the Butterfrees stay in the berry area, the Gloom in the flower bed, Poliwhirl and Staryu live in the pond, and Growlithe has his own living space in the lawn area. Magneton and Rhydon apparently prefer to stay in their Pokeballs most of the time. Pidgeot and Crobat made their home in Viridian Forest near our home and visit my parents every few days. Seadra stays in the stream near our house most of the time, but father brings him to the pond 2 times a week. I don't know their strength and potential because I haven't seen them yet. It seems that I was introduced to them while I was asleep, and my parents wanted to wait a bit for me to grow some before meeting them while conscious. On that note, the general information that I wanted access to at the start is in my head, but I have to consciously think about what I want to know. Then I see the information I want and what I have to do to unlock more of the knowledge. I had access to a huge amount of information, so I focused on the stuff I wanted right now. I can learn about the rest in time. I wanted to know what the trainer ranks of my parents stand for and generally some information on Pokemon and humans in this universe. My first choice was general information on Pokemon and humanity. I had access to information on Pokemon species and variants in our part of the planet, about their potential, partial access to their strength classifications, some stuff about evolution and their diet. I also know the distribution of humanity, some info on trainer classifications, humanity's diet, and have some information on the continents humans lived on. I also have access to some history between Pokemon and humanity that is interesting and terrifying at the same time. I wonder how much of that knowledge the humans on Terra know about. I guess I will find out in the future. Let's start with what I have on Pokemon species and their variants. First of all, the knowledge I have only concerns the 4 continents the humans have settled on, and one of the great continents that is relatively near them. Relatively because it is still way too far away and the journey and the great continent too dangerous, so no human presence there. All Pokemon shown in the anime and games do exist and live on those continents. Not only that, but a huge number of type variants of those Pokemon exist on those continents as well. Not every species has a type variant of every energy type, but most species have 6 to 7 type variants, some Pokemon species more, some less. Some type variants can be found in the human territory that is located at the border of each continent as well, but they are rare. Most variant species can be found further inland. Not only that, but the strength of the Pokemon as well as the energy and resources available increases the further to the center of the continents you reach. Now, after the information I have on the known Pokemon species, next up is what I know about the Pokemon potential. There are 7 potential grades with 3 subgrades each. Except for the red potential, which has 2 subgrades. The grades are represented by a color and the subgrades by the shade of said color. From the lowest to the highest it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and aurora, normally just legendaries. The subgrades are light, standard, and deep. So the worst potential is red and the best potential is deep aurora. The higher the potential of a Pokemon, the rarer it is. Some species have a higher potential average than others and some have a lower one. Here we can find some reflection of the base stat from the games. The potential of a Pokemon influences two areas: their training and comprehension speed, as well as their theoretical stage limit. A Pokemon's potential sets a stage limit that is nearly impossible to overcome. Like with everything, there are exceptions, but normally once the upper limit is reached, the Pokemon can't increase their stage any longer. Pokemon that reach that stage need to either somehow raise their potential, which is possible but not easy, or if they can't, they need to train hellishly hard and find supplements to try to hopefully overcome the limit, and that every single time. Now to their strength classifications. Pokemon on Terra are separated by stages. I know about the existence of 2 stages, but I have only access to information on the first 5 stages for now. Most stages seem to be separated by grades. I have gotten a level reference from the games to help me understand their strength and the difference that exists compared to the games. This world does not have a concept of levels, and this is just for me. The stages are classified as 0. Normal/stageless, LV 1 to 9, newborns/younglings/pets. 1. Iron stage, LV 10 to 29. 3 grades: low, LV 10 to 14. Mid, LV 15 to 24. High, LV 25 to 29. 2. Bronze stage, LV 30 to 59. 3 grades: low, LV 30 to 39. Mid, LV 40 to 49. High, LV 50 to 59. 3. Silver stage, LV 60 to 99. 3 grades: low, LV 60 to 69. Mid, LV 70-89. High, LV 90 to 99. 4. Gold stage, LV 100 to 149. 3 grades: low, LV 100 to 119. Mid, LV 120 to 139. High, LV 140 to 149. That is all I have on Pokemon stages right now. But damn, the gold stage alone already starts with the level limit of the games. Just how strong do these Pokemon get? There are still 6 stages left. Now on to evolution. It is possible for most Pokemon species to have finished all standard evolutions during the Iron or Bronze stage, but many Pokemons and trainers try to postpone the evolution a bit to get the best out of their current form or to find a supplement to enhance their potential, which is easier during an evolution. Mega evolution exists in this universe as well. There seem to be 2 forms, the temporary and the permanent Mega evolution. How to achieve the permanent one is still locked, but the temporary one works like it does in the games and the anime, with the difference being multiple Mega evolutions simultaneously or after each other being possible. It is also possible to substitute the Mega and Keystones with Aura Bonds and other Energy Bond forms, but the precise way to do it is still locked as well. I feel like I'm being teased. About the Pokemon diet, that one is going to destroy children's dreams. Pokemon, in general, eat energy-rich flora. Those can be berries, vegetables, fruits, and other flora grown in an energy-rich environment. But a large part of the known Pokemon species also eat meat. This includes animals, other Pokemon species, and if it has wants to humans. On Terra, animals are seen as fauna that are unable to use and actively absorb energy due to a genetic anomaly or defect during their genesis/evolution, thus not being classified and qualified as Pokemon. All non-herbivore animals, as well as all herbivores except for the bovidae, antelope, sheep, goat, etc., bovini, buffaloes, spiral-horned envelopes, etc., bovini, cattle, bison, yak, etc., families and fowls, chicken, ducks, geese, turkeys, were brought/killed to extinction by the Pokemon. The bovine families and fowls were kept alive by the Pokemon as a food/meat source for the old, weak, and young Pokemon. They were, later on, reared as a meat source by the humans as well. All aggressive marine animals were also made extinct by Pokemon. Only non-aggressive ones were kept as a food source. Now that the Pokemon part has been cleared, let's come to the human part. Currently, humanity has settled on the edge of 4 continents and on islands near those continents. There are about 1.2 billion humans total living on those places, and human territory makes up between 3 and 4% of each of the 4 continents, which is not much considering the size of the world. This shows the danger of the world and that humans are not at the top of the world, not even anywhere near the top. If we look at the position of the continents from the middle point of the distance to each other, then the first continent humans settled on is at the north, the second one is the south, the third one is west, and the last one is east. Next come the regions that are distributed on or near the continents. Mikhail takes a breath while wondering about the high amount of information. Chapter 7, New Start. Mikhail takes a breath while wondering about the high amount of information. The northern continent is the place from which humanity spread. The regions that are located there are Kanto, Johto, Heen, Orange Island, Seville Island, and the Rhoda Kingdom. The total human population is a little less than 300 million, and the human territory is about 3% of the continent. I only have information on who the 5 strongest Pokemon forces per continent are, but nothing on their strength, and that the strongest free Pokemons on or near human territory seem to be stage 6. Unfortunately, 1, for now, don't know what stage 6 entails. On the northern continent, those are the Arcanine tribe, the Dragonite tribe, the Tyranitar tribe, the Salamence tribe, and the Metagross tribe. The southern continent is the second continent humans settled on. The regions located there are Sinnoh, Paseo, Rancel, and Lental. The total human population is about 306 million, and the human territory is also about 3% of the continent. The 5 strongest forces here are the Garchomp tribe, the Lucario tribe, the Mamoswine tribe, the Tangrowth tribe, and the Luxray tribe. The western continent is the third continent humans settled on. The regions located there are Unova, Galar with islands, Alola, and Farum. The total human population is a little less than 270 million, and the human territory is also about 2.3% of the continent. The 5 strongest forces here are the Crocodile tribe, the Hydreigon tribe, the Volcarona tribe, the Komodo tribe, and the Dragapult tribe. The eastern continent is the 4th and last continent humans settled on. The regions located there are Kalos, Almia, Oblivia, Flor, and Or. The total human population is about 315 million, and the human territory is also about 3.5% of the continent. The 5 strongest forces here are the Gudra tribe, the Flogers tribe, the Tyranitar tribe, the Flygon tribe, and the Gagot tribe. Mikhail scrunched his brows slightly while thinking about the information he went over so far. What he was not aware of was that his mother had entered the room while he was going over his available knowledge to check up on him. The scene of him scrunching his brows might have been done by him during serious contemplation, but on his toddler face it just looked really adorable. So Arya did what most mothers do when their baby does something cute: she took a photo. Having taken her future teasing material, she left, after making sure everything was fine. All this happened without Mikhail noticing anything, due to him being deep in thought. Now, after the distribution of humanity, we should look at the strength of humanity. The most popular way to strength for humans on Terra is, as expected, being a trainer. Trainers focus on training and bonding with Pokemon, which not only creates a private force, but after their Pokemon reach a certain stage, their energy also strengthens the trainer through their bond. Trainers are humanity's main pillar, but that does not mean it's the only one. There are also humans that focus on training themselves. Some of these humans train with energies, some train their physique, and some do both. Examples of such groups would be mediums, psychics, and aura guardians. Nonetheless, this does not mean that just because they train themselves, that they can't become trainers. In fact, most of them do both, training together with Pokemon that fit their training style. For now, let's focus just on trainers. Trainers on Terra are divided into classes depending on their strengths and qualifications. It seems I can only see the first 4 of 8 existing trainer classes. Those being Rookie class, Junior class, Senior class, and Expert class. Rookie class trainers have mostly Iron Stage Pokemon, only in rare cases do they have Bronze Stage Pokemon. Junior class trainers have mostly Bronze Stage Pokemon, only in rare cases do they have Silver Stage Pokemon. Senior class trainers have mostly Silver Stage Pokemon, only in rare cases do they have Gold Stage Pokemon. Expert class trainers have mostly Gold Stage Pokemon. So now I know where my parents fit and what to expect from their Pokemon, at least stage-wise. Now that the strength aspect has been checked, let's see the human's diet. From the previous Pokemon Diet Part 1 know that humans rear animals as a food source. We naturally also eat flora, like berries and vegetables. Humans also eat Pokemon. Mikhail's eyebrows rose as he came to this part. Let's see, humans also rear Pokemon as a food source but only non-sapient/non-sentient ones. Pokemon on Terra achieve sentience/sapience after they reach a certain stage. The stage differs depending on their type and species. It can happen as early as the Iron Stage or as late as the Gold Stage for some species. It is just the rearing of sapient Pokemon that is forbidden if a sapient Pokemon is killed in the wild. Or during an attack or tide, you can consume or sell it as you want. This rule forbidding the rearing of sapient species as food also applies to sapient Pokemon and is enforced by the legendaries. They are also the ones that set the rules and informed everyone about them. On Terra, the legendaries are just that, legendary. They are not like their counterparts in the anime, manga or games that can be challenged and caught willy-nilly. Here they are more than supreme, at least the originals are. The Creation Trio plus Arceus are seen as the supreme deities on Terra. There are no others of their species. After them come the original legendaries, which can be classified as deities as well. They have others of their species because they requested partners. After the originals come the partners and direct descendants of the original legendaries. The descendants afterwards are still in a category of their own. Even the weakest of them is still obscenely strong, being at the 11th stage that I don't have any more information about, and not something a human could catch or threaten. Now knowing this comes a little bit of human history. I am not sure how much the humans on Terra know about the past, but it seems to me that humans on Terra like to challenge the boundaries as well. Because this is the 4th human civilization. That's right. This is the 4th time that humans had to build a civilization. There are a few rules on Terra that are inviolable, but humanity managed to break them 3 times despite warnings being issued. As a consequence and punishment, humanity was mostly decimated with nearly all high-end people killed and most knowledge being lost/destroyed, and only a small portion of the population were kept alive so that humanity can start over again. A few decently strong humans, that were mostly innocent and not part of the wrongdoings, were kept alive as well to protect the surviving population and to warn the next generation to not repeat their mistakes. The first human civilization was destroyed by the OG Mew for breaking the rule of not messing with legendary Pokemon DNA. The humans of the first civilization had advanced in their research on genetics and managed to unlock genetic strains/variations and locks on the DNA of Pokemon and humans, increasing their potential and limits. That was not a problem since they did not violate the rules set by the legendaries during their research. But the researchers and the leaders grew arrogant or became too ambitious. Maybe both, who knows? They started studying Mew's DNA. Warnings were sent by the legendaries, but they were ignored. The OG Mew, being a generally kind being, held the other legends back despite its own kind's DNA being studied. It stated that they were only studying the DNA and not using, utilizing, or replicating it, which was skirting the line but not crossing it yet. The others decided to respect Mew's opinion and simply sent another warning. I have no idea what the hell the researchers and leaders were thinking, but they ignored the warning yet again. They used the DNA of Mew to engineer and control their own legendary Pokemon, Mewtwo. Yes, on Terra Mewtwo exists as well, but it has nothing to do with Team Rocket. It was the pinnacle result of a whole human civilization and also the reason for its destruction. The OG Mu, finally enraged by humanity for ignoring their warnings and for daring to use its kind's DNA to create Mutwo, went on a warpath itself, no matter how short said war lasted. Mu went to the laboratory Mutwo was kept, stomped the controlled Mutwo in a few seconds, and freed it afterward. After freeing Mutwo, the OG Mu destroyed all of humanity's research facilities and killed everyone that was part of / knew of the research. Once it had done so, Mu used its powers to scan for about 1 million innocent adult humans of all walks of life and a few of the strongest humans that were not part of Project Mutwo, and teleported them with the most healthy children between 2 and 10 years towards a small city it emptied beforehand. Mu informed the adults of the situation, then told the strong ones to protect everyone if they don't want humanity to become extinct, and told all adults to look after the children and to repopulate humanity together, since they're going to be the only humans on Terra. There were 1 million adults and about 5 million children in that city, which was enough to repopulate humanity. Done with the relocating, Mu used a part of its immense powers to identify all products of human civilization and all humans outside the small city and simply vaporized them. Seeing all signs of humanity, beside the city used for the new start, gone, Mu once more warned the adults and informed them of the fate of the others. Once it deemed its job complete, it left and humanity had to start anew. A bit of sweat could be seen on Mikhail's cute little face. How lucky of him that his mother didn't witness this moment, or she would have fussed over her baby boy. Mikhail, who didn't know he had dodged a bullet, focused on the information once more. Horrifying yet kinda awesome. That's what came to my mind when thinking about the OG Mu. Harsh but kinda their fault is what I think about the fate of the first civilization. Nevertheless, I am thankful for all their knowledge on genetics that I will have access to once I fulfilled the requirements to access them. Since my wish included all knowledge humanity ever had, this is included. I just have to qualify for it. The second human civilization focused on energy manipulation, material science, and the study of the soul. It was destroyed when it began mass experimenting on souls. They tried to control, subjugate, and even create artificial ones. Their pinnacle product was GeneSect, the perfect result of their research on energy manipulation and material science. It was extremely powerful, ruthless, and seemingly soulless despite possessing a soul. GeneSect was 100% obedient because of their soul research. They were warned to stop their meddling with the soul but ignored it. 2 times they were warned, and yet humanity ignored the warnings once more. They were destroyed by Yveltal and Xerneas this time around. This time a seed for humanity was left again, and once more humans had to start anew. Mikhail can be seen lying on his bed with a giddy look on his adorable face that would make all women squeal and shower his face with kisses, stating how cute he looked. A short while later his face returned to its normal look. How nice of them to deliver that knowledge to me. I hope the focus of the third civilization does not overlap with the other 2 as well. I can't seem to decide if I should be sad about the loss of life or happy for all that knowledge. Anyway, let's see why the third one was destroyed. The third human civilization focused on nutrition and recipes. They focused on using flora, berries, and energy-rich vegetables, other digestible materials, and Pokemon meat to strengthen themselves and their Pokemon. In their pursuit, they not only mass hunted, which does not break the rules, but also started rearing sapient Pokemon for food as the hunting became insufficient. They were warned by the legendaries to stop rearing sapient Pokemon as food, but ignored them despite knowing the fate of the previous 2 civilizations. They thought that it was necessary and continued doing so. The legendaries sent another warning, but it was for naught. So the third civilization was destroyed as well. This time Ho-Oh did the job. A seed city was left this time as well, and humanity had to start anew for the 4th time. Mikhail had a pensive look on his face. It looked like a child trying really hard to appear serious but just looking cute. Wow, I am happy for the extra knowledge, but even I am surprised that the legendaries bothered to spare some humans to give humanity another chance after the 3rd time. It comes across as extremely stupid that they ignored the warning after being nearly wiped out 2 times. Nonetheless, I am thankful that the legendaries decided to give humans another chance. At least I hope that humanity, at long last, learned to follow the few rules the legend set. Seeing that the fourth civilization started about 4,872 years ago, we can't be sure, but I will at least try to prevent another reset during my time if I can. But who knows what will happen in the future? The previous civilizations lasted tens of thousands of years before they were destroyed by their actions. Mikhail could be seen with what he thought was a resolute face but resulted in a pouty face. At that moment his mother entered once more to check up on him and saw his pouty look. She ran towards him and hugged him, squeezing his cheeks while telling him that he was adorable. Mikhail, whose serious moment was interrupted, had no other choice but to surrender to his mother's mercy. Chapter 8 New Start. After being free from his mother's loving embrace of humiliation, she brought him to the kitchen to feed him. After he told her that he was full, she cleaned him up and settled him in his play corner in the living room from where she could observe him while doing her chores. Yes, toddler him could talk. He may have to use simple sentences for the time being, since that's what his toddler self had done until now, but he could slowly improve from there. It was not even something remarkable, because even normal babies on Earth on average start saying words by their 12th month and string words together by their 18th month. Babel's on Terra being a little bit more advanced than that is not surprising. Anyway, now that he was left alone again, he could focus on the information available to him again. So, I went over a little bit of human history and now know that I have a treasure trove of knowledge from the previous human civilizations that the current one may not have, that will help me with everything I want to do in the future. Be that training Pokemon or something else. I just have to make sure not to expose too much and do most stuff connected to the previous civilization in my pocket space. Mikhail observed his baby body. I wonder if humans on Terra mature the same way the humans on my Earth did? Let's see what knowledge I have on that. I already know from the universe binder that the natural life expectancy of standard humans on Terra is around 100 Terran years, which is equal to 300 Earth years. It seems information on the development of the human body was included in the general knowledge I asked for. First of all, 100 years is just the average natural life expectancy of humans, and it can be prolonged. Trainers and humans training themselves have a longer lifespan. Their original lifespan is multiplied depending on their stage/strength. I will be informed on the multipliers when I start bonding with my Pokemon or reach a certain strength by training myself. Back to the maturing of the human body. There are differences, big differences, compared to the maturing process back on Earth, that can probably be attributed to the energy everywhere on Terra. To be truthful, the process reminds me more of the maturing of Salients from the fictional story back on Earth. This is how the average human matures on Terra. From birth till 1.5 years, 54 months, old, the bodies of babies from Terra mature like babies from Earth do. But they develop mentally to an equivalent of an Earth in 2 to 3 years old. From the age of 1.5 to 2 years, Terran Babels start to rapidly grow to look like 4 to 5 years old children. Their mental maturity grows to that age as well. Mikhail feels dread while being extremely thankful for the fact that he decided to check the development of humans on Terra. He could vividly imagine how his mother would have felt and reacted when he tried to mimic the behavior of a 2-year-old child without knowing that children on Terra behave like 4 to 5-year-old children at that age. She would have tried to act normal while being sad and fretting over the fact that her normal baby boy turned into a retard. Dodged a bullet there, moving on. From the age of 2 to 7.5 years old, Terran children keep looking like 4 to 5 years old children, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of 12 to 13 years old kids. That's a duration of 5.5 Terran years, which is equal to 16.5 years on Earth. From 7.5 to 8 years old, Terran children start to rapidly grow to look like 10 to 11 years old, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of 13 to 14 years old teens. From the age of 8 to 13.5 years old, Terran children keep looking like 10 to 11 years old children, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of 20 to 21 years old young adults. That's once more a duration of 5.3 Terran years, which is equal to 16.5 years on Earth. This would at least show why Ash keeps looking the same. If that even has to be logically explained. From 13.5 to 14 years old, Terran children start to rapidly grow to look like 16 to 17 years olds, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of 21 years old people. From the age of 14 to 17.5 years old, Terran children keep looking like 16 to 17 years old teenagers, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of 25 to 26 years old persons. From 17.5 to 18 years old, Terran humans start to rapidly grow to look like they are 20 to 21 years old, while they mentally grow to the equivalent of a 27 to 28 years old adult. From the age of 18 to 40 years old, Terran humans keep looking like 20 to 21 years old young adults, while they normally grow in mental maturity depending on their life experiences. This also fits Ash's mother, who in the anime exactly like her son doesn't seem to age. The development until here should be enough. If I need to know more I can take a further look at a later time. Mikhail exhales slowly while thinking about what he learned right now. This action seems to alert his mother Arya, who comes over and speaks to him. "Are you okay, honey? Do you want something from Mama?" Mikhail shakes his head in denial. "Me okay, Mama." Arya hugs him and gives him a smooch on the cheek, before answering. That's great. Call Mama if you need something, okay? Mikhail nods. His mother goes back to her chores after being sure that everything is alright. I can use what I just learned as a guideline. This way I will know which way to act to not stand out. Had I not gone over it I would have most likely learned about it at a later time, but my behavior would have been inconsistent with that of other children on Terra. I would have looked so dumb. I still have to check my status screen and my pocket dimension. Let's check the status screen first. It appears that there are 4 different versions to my status screen. My status screen, one for my Pokemon, one for materials, and one for other humans or Pokemon. I am going to start with my status screen. All sections can be folded and unfolded to reduce the screen size. Included in the status screen are name, species, gender, age, family members, and money. Money is followed by current, trainer class, which also shows current, badges and achievements, as well as a previous, trainer class section with badges and achievements earned during previous classes. After trainer class comes affinities, talents, bonds, and Pokemon roster. Affinities are divided into elements/concepts, and Pokemon. The Pokemon roster shows the Pokemon you currently use as your team. After the Pokemon roster comes the Pokemon section where all Pokemon you own are listed. This is followed by the occupation section. The occupation section is divided into 3 parts. General, crafting and battle occupation. Next is physique, mind, soul, condition, masteries, and lastly techniques. Michael went from a sitting to a lying position while stretching himself a little. That's a large number of sections. It's good that sections can be folded or hidden until needed so that it is not needlessly clustered every time I want to check my status. Now let's see what my Pokemon status screen looks like. It has name, species, gender, age, type, potential, genetic modifiers, abilities, talents, affinities, bonds, and quirks. Which is followed by the parameters section. The parameters section begins with the stage of the Pokemon. Here the current stage of the Pokemon is shown. Not only that, but if one wants to, the previous stages can be checked here as well. The stage of the Pokemon is followed by its vitality, endurance, strength, agility, energy capacity, energy density, resistance, and condition. All parameter values, except for the stage, are ranked from I to SSS. After the parameters section comes masteries and techniques. Mastery is divided into novice, beginner, proficient, advanced, mastered, and transcended. The folding and hiding will be useful here as well. I will most likely just check the parameters, masteries, and techniques for improvements after the first time unless I want to check something else. Next up is the status screen for materials. This one contains name, type, quality, faults, and uses. The type shows the type of energy if there is one. The quality of the material is divided into 3 tiers/levels. Their/level 1 has the lowest/poor dash, low and mid-quality materials. Their/level 2 has the high dash, top and peak quality materials. Level 3 has legendary and mythical quality materials. Faults show the faults of goods, which is extremely useful. Being able to see mistakes can help avoiding them. Uses shows exactly that. Finishing the group is the screen for wild Pokemon and humans. This screen shows name if it has 1, species, gender, type, potential, stage, genetic variants, abilities, talents, and affinities. The higher the difference in strength between me, my Pokemon, and the one being observed, the less is shown on the status screen. To show the status of materials, wild Pokemon, or other humans, either me or my energy has to come in contact with them. Mikhail had a satisfied look on his face. He seemed to radiate happiness while lying on the floor. Now that I have gone over what the different status screens show, it is time to check my current status. Here goes. Name, Mikhail Geo. Species, human. Gender, male. Age, minus 1.5 years, 55 months. Trainer class, none. Affinities. Elements/concepts, psionic/psychic, supreme, aura/life, supreme. Ground/earth, supreme, dragon/domination, supreme. Fairy/positivity, supreme, bug/growth, supreme. Pokemon, psychic types, supreme, fighting types, supreme. Ground types, supreme, dragon types, supreme. Fairy types, supreme, bug type, supreme. Talents, comprehension, supreme, elemental manipulation, supreme. Survival, high, strategic mind, high, cooking, high. Ballsmithing, high. Bonds, none. Pokemon roster, none. Pokemon, none. Occupation, none. Physique, Tier 0, human toddler. Mind, Tier 0, human adult. Salve, Tier 1, silver stage. Condition, healthy, happy. Masteries, none. Techniques, none. Mikhail was showing an ecstatic face. His whole being seemed to radiate happiness. I hit the jackpot. The affinities and talent section seem to show the first 6 before I have to unfold them to see the rest, but still. Damn, my affinities are awesome. I knew psionics and aura would be supreme, but to think I got 6 supreme affinities too. Elements/concepts and their corresponding Pokemon type. Simply fantastic. Let's see what the other affinities are. So everything else is mostly high, and even the worst ones are medium, which are space and time, by the way. Nevertheless, I am still supremely happy. I could dance right now. You know what, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Mikhail stood up, stretched his toddler body, and started his awesome dance performance. Well, at least he tried to. It looked like a baby mimicking a duck to everyone else. His mother noticed Mikhail dancing and instantly, silently, appeared at his play area with a camera in hand that miraculously appeared out of nowhere. She took a video of his, totally not embarrassing, performance for the future and rushed up to embrace him as soon as he stopped dancing. What the? That was all Mikhail could think before he was suddenly smothered in his mother's bosom. She proceeded to squeeze him and rub their cheeks together. Asterisk, aren't you the cutest? You looked adorable trying to dance like that. I am going to show your father the video as well. I am sure he will be happy to see it. As soon as Mikhail heard his mother, he felt mortified. She took a video of my dance. Mew, damn it! His mother let him down after she felt she had hugged him enough. Mommy is gonna finish her chores, and then we will play a little together before you have to take your nap. Mikhail felt relieved that she went back to her work. He lied down again and concentrated on his pocket dimension. I should go over my pocket space before she finishes with her housework. I can't enter it yet because it would be suspicious and plain stupid to suddenly disappear, but I can look at the situation inside. Let's see. The main space is about 400 square meters big. 250 of those are part of a garden area that is currently empty, and on the other 150 square meters stand a 2-story house with the simplest furnishing. Well, it's a little bigger than I thought it would be at the beginning, but all I can think of at the moment is empty. I know that it will grow bigger and littler the stronger I and my Pokemon get, but that's going to take a while. At least I can use it as a storage space for now. The subspaces are all empty as well, and since they are a tenth the size of the main space, they are each about 40 square meters big, which adds an extra 200 square meters storage space for certain types of goods. That's all for now. I will come back to it when I have stuff to store or when I can enter it. Now I can simply wait for my mother and do the things she wants me to. After she leaves me alone, I can try to begin my first foray in psionic energy and aura. Mikhail opened his eyes, stood up, and proceeded to focus on his children's toys while waiting for his mother to come to him. Chapter 9, Psionics and Aura. Mikhail was not sure how long he played with the toys while moving his toddler body. Naturally, he did this to low-key train his dexterity and flexibility. Anyone saying he simply had fun was lying. Anyway, his mother startled him when she came to join him, breaking his focus on his training and making him release a manly roar. Ah! His mother chuckled while taking him into her arms. Did Mommy scare you? It was just me, okay. Mommy is sorry, darling. Mikhail, feeling slightly embarrassed because of the manly roar he released, told her. Me alright. Just play fight ghost. Not scared. Arya, chuckling at her baby boy's antics, set him down. Let's play together for a bit, then we will eat a little, and afterward it's time for your nap till your father comes home. Yes. That was all Mikhail had to add, and they started playing with his toys. After about an hour, his mother told him that it was time to eat. What flavor do you want, honey? Banana with orangeberry, apple with orangeberry, pear with orangeberry, or orange with orangeberry? Mikhail looked to his mother like he was debating which one to choose, while silently thinking. I expected normal fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, and stuff to be here because those could be seen in the games and anime as well. But I still find hearing normal fruit names a little funny. When the energy content is low and there is no special effect, it's a fruit. Fruits are consumed mostly for their flavor, but as soon as the energy content is increased and or it gains an effect, it turns into a berry. I mean, it's a banana, but as soon as the energy concentration and content increase, it's called a nanab berry. A pear turns into an aspir berry. I find it kinda weird and funny at the same time. At least vegetables and other flora get to keep their name even if their quality increases. Anyway, the orangeberry is there for the energy and nutrition part and the fruit for the flavor. One apple. Mikhail told his mother. Oh, I can't wait to reach 2 years old. I already miss being able to form complete sentences, no matter how short. At least I can start forming short sentences in a few months without standing out and start talking in full sentences, even if childishly, once I turn 2. Thank you for the fast mental maturity rate on Terra. Okay, honey. Walt in your chair while Mommy brings you your apple and orangeberry porridge and your moo-moo milk. That was what his mother told him before seating him on his baby high chair at the table and going to the kitchen. She shortly came back with their food and proceeded to feed him, while eating something in between herself. After cleaning up the table, Arya checked his diapers and finally brought him back to his room. She put him in his toddler bed and made sure the room is dark enough for his nap. Turning on the nightlight for children, activating the baby camera and its lullaby function, she kissed him and said, "Sweet dreams, darling." Before she left, UNN came from Mikhail as a reply. Now that I am alone, even if she can still see me because of the camera, it's time to check what I can do with the boost to my psionic and aura affinity and talent that I wanted. I know how good my affinity is and how talented I am, but I have to see how to train with them. I am pretty sure I have the knowledge of the training path of psychics and aura users in my head. There it is, in the sea of knowledge I have on occupations. More precisely in the battle occupations portion, which includes martial artists, rangers, aura users / guardians, psychics, elementalists, and many more occupations. Let's see what I can access right now. Occupations, battle occupations included, are divided into 6 tiers. From Tier 0 to Tier 5, which is the peak an occupation can reach. All tiers are split into 3 grades. The information I can currently access is on the first and second tiers. At Tier O, an individual is called an apprentice ***. The gap is filled with the occupation title. The 3 grades of an apprentice are beginner *, advanced and top grade. At Tier 1, an individual is called a qualified /real ***. The 3 grades are, from low to high, third class, second class, and first class. Occupations that use energy train using the following steps: sense energy, move energy, absorb energy, accumulate energy, manipulate energy, and use energy. These are things that have to be trained no matter how far one advances. For sense energy, area, amount, and nuances increase. For move energy, area, amount, and density increase. For absorb energy, amount, speed, and density increase with training. One always has to keep accumulating energy. For manipulating energy, area, amount, density, speed, form, and complexity increase with training. Now let's focus on the training path of psychics and aura users specifically. I will begin with the psychic path. Psychics at Tier O have to do 3 things. Sensing psionic energy is the first step. Someone that manages this becomes a beginner-grade apprentice psychic. Sensing psionic energy includes the internal psionic energy produced by oneself and the psionic energy outside the body. The next step is to move the psionic energy. Someone that manages to move psionic energy becomes an advanced-grade apprentice psychic. After that, one has to use the internal psionic energy to open one's mindscape. The mindscape is located in the head area. The trigger differs for all individuals, but the only constant is that one has to be able to move psionic energy. Those that open their mindscape become top-grade apprentice psychics. To enter Tier 1 as a psychic, one has to absorb psionic energy into their mindscape. The moment someone manages to absorb their first strand of external energy, one becomes a third-class qualified /real psychic. The psionic energy of Tier 1 psychic is in a gas state. To progress, one has to absorb and accumulate psionic energy. Using up and refilling the energy reserves in the mindscape increases one's capacity. Depending on, first the capacity and then also the density of psionic energy in one's mindscape, psychics elevate their grade. They seem to instinctively know when they reach the next class. The requirements, on capacity and density, to advance to second class and first class qualified /real psychics seem to be a little bit different for most psychics. Upon reaching Tier 1, psychics gain the following abilities. Minor telepathy, minor telekinesis, starts at grams in weight, a minor computing boost, the ability to feel minds as well as mind intrusions, and lastly minor psionic energy manipulation. For information on Tier 2, I need to enter Tier 1. Mikhail moved his body a little to find an even more comfortable lying position. Next up is the aura user / guardian path. Aura users, like every other occupation, start at Tier O as well. They also have to do 3 things. Sensing aura is the first step. Someone that manages this becomes a beginner-grade apprentice aura user. Sensing aura includes the internal aura produced by oneself and the aura outside the body as well. The next step is to move aura. Someone that manages to move aura becomes an advanced-grade apprentice aura user. After that, one has to use the internal aura to open one's aurascape. The location of the aurascape is different from that of the mindscape. The aurascape is located in the heart area. Like with the psychics, the trigger differs for all individual aura users, but the only constant is that one has to be able to move aura. Those that manage to open their aurascape become top-grade apprentice aura users. To enter Tier 1 as an aura user, one has to absorb external aura into their aurascape. The moment someone manages to absorb their first strand of external aura, one becomes a third-class qualified /real aura user. The aura of a Tier 1 aura user is in a gas state. To progress, one has to absorb and accumulate aura. Using up and refilling the aura reserves in the aurascape increases one's capacity. Depending on, first the capacity and then also the density of aura in one's aurascape, is how aura users elevate their grade too. This applies to nearly all energy-using professions. Aura users, like psychics, seem to instinctively know when they reach the next class. The requirements, on capacity and density, to advance to second class and first class qualified/real aura users seem to differ a little between individuals. Upon reaching Tier 1, aura users gain the following abilities. They gain a minor body boost, passive, a minor passive regeneration, fatigue, a minor emotion sense, a minor aura sense, passive, a minor aura speech, convey feelings, and minor internal aura manipulation. Mikhail's body can be seen relaxing more and more. He seems to be falling asleep. I have gone over what I have to do to start my psychic and aura training. I will try it out after I wake up. I can't seem to stay awake. The lullaby landed a critical hit. It was super effective. Good night to me. His mother saw Mikhail falling asleep when she checked on the baby camera. She cooed a bit about her baby being super cute and taking after her before she resumed preparing dinner for her husband and doing the rest of the house chores. A few hours later, Edward Gio came home from work, put his jacket and shoes in the cabinet at the entrance, and entered the living room. Taking a seat on the couch, he said, "I am home. How are my beautiful wife and cute son? Welcome home, honey." "I am great, thank you for asking. Little Mikhail is taking a nap. It's time for him to wake up soon. How was your day?" Came from Arya, who came from the kitchen to the living room to welcome her husband. She joined him on the couch. Same old, same old. Nothing new or exciting happened. I am used to it by now. At least it pays well enough. Did anything happen at home? Was the answer from Edward. The day went mostly like it always does. I did my house chores while keeping an eye on my little boy. There was one noteworthy moment. Our boy started dancing while playing in his play area. It looked like a duckling waddling. It was so cute. I took a video of his dancing, let me show you. Arya answered her husband while taking out the video recorder. That's good. As long as nothing went wrong, I am satisfied. Let's see the video. Edward started watching the video together with Arya. Ha ha ha. They both started laughing while watching the video. He really looks like a little ducklet. Adorable. As expected of my son. No matter what he does, he looks good just like his father. Came from Edward, who got himself under control again. What do you mean as expected of your son? You meant our son, am I right? Moreover, if he takes after someone, it's me. Arya fired back. Right. You're absolutely right. I meant as expected of our son. Corrected Edward, who realized he f'd up. Right. Anyway, I am going to set up the table. Could you go and wake up Mikhail and bring him to his play area? I will check his diapers before bringing in the food to start dinner. Arya asked her husband. No problem. I can check his diapers after I bring him to his area if you want to. Edward replied to her. If you feel like it. Then, while you do that, I will directly bring in the dinner after setting up the table. Came her answer. Let us do that then. Was Edward's response. He stood up and went to his son's room, while Arya stood up as well to go to the kitchen. Edward entered Mikhail's room. He turned off the night light and opened the curtains to lighten the room. He closed the baby camera and moved to Mikhail's bed to wake up his son by calling out to him. Mikhail had managed to keep sleeping despite the noise his father made after entering his room. Mikhail, son. It's time to wake up. Edward called out to his boy. Came from Mikhail, who was roused from his sleep by his father's voice. Daddy home. Cried out Mikhail, who saw his father. Yes, Daddy's home. How are you, my little man? Edward asked Mikhail. I good. Replied Mikhail. Edward took Mikhail into his arms and they moved to the living room. Chapter 10, First Contact. Once they entered the living room, Edward saw that the table had been set already and that Arya was bringing over the food. Edward set Mikhail down in his play area and prepared to change his diapers. Okay, little guy. Let's see how your diapers fared. Edward told his son. Me dry. All clean. Mikhail tried to assure his father. I believe you. But I still have to make sure you had no accident. Your mommy will ask me if I checked. Edward replied to Mikhail while checking his diapers. After he saw that it was clean and dry, he put his son's clothes back on and said, See, finished checking already, it's clean just like you said. Good job, I knew you were saying the truth but I still had to look. Now your mommy can't complain to daddy. Mikhail, who saw his father trying to shove any kind of fault on his mother, mentally rolled his eyes. It okay. He told his father, who had brought him to the table and sat him on his baby high chair. They started to eat their dinner together. More like his parents ate and he was fed by his mother. He was fed shredded Pidgey meat, some orange and mango berry slices, and drank some strawberry-flavored moo milk. His parents talked during dinner but he mostly zoned them out. He was thinking about how he could get his parents to show him their Pokemon. He was in a Pokemon world, damn it, and he still hadn't seen a single one. It may be his first self-aware day but even toddler him hadn't seen one. Having made up his mind, he focused on his parents, that were done with their dinner and were just finishing up clearing the table, and said to them, Want see Pokemon? Please. Him knowing about Pokemon despite never having seen one was not a problem. He had never seen a living Pokemon, but he had Pokemon toys and his parents had told him stories with Pokemon in them. He dialed his toddler cuteness to the maximum, hoping that it would help. Enlarged eyes, upturned lips, and hopeful look. The full package. It was super effective on both of them. He even landed a critical hit on his mother, who made a high-pitched noise and proceeded to crush him in a hug while showering him with kisses. Of course you can. Mommy and Daddy will show you some of their Pokemon. Right, hubby? Arya turned to her husband at the last part. That's right. We can show you some of our smaller and easier to handle Pokemon. We had planned to show them to you after your second birthday anyway, but you can only look and touch them a little. To be allowed to play with them you still have to wait till after your second birthday. Edward replied to Arya's question while addressing them both. Yeesus. I get to see real Pokemon. It's so awesome. Was Mikhail's immediate thought, but all he did was laugh and clap happily. Let's see, which ones from my Pokemon fit this the best. Pidgeot came visiting yesterday and should be in the garden if she didn't go hunting. Growlithe should be alright as well. Our Butterfrees should be good as well as long as they don't release any of the powder moves. Your Poliwhirl should be okay too. That should be enough for now, I believe. What do you think, honey? Edward started going over which Pokemon he believed would be safe for Mikhail to see and come in contact with. I agree. How about you go to the garden and call the chosen Pokemon to the terrace and I will bring Mikhail and wait for you there. Arya responded to her husband, who answered with okay and went out. She lifted her son from his high chair and walked with him to the terrace. They had taken a seat on a rocking chair and were waiting for Edward and the Pokemon. It was a few minutes later that the first Pokemon came over. Pidgeot, it seems, had decided to fly ahead of the others. She landed on the terrace and all Mikhail could do was stare in awe at the sheer awesomeness of a real Pokemon. Whoa, was all he could say. I expected most Pokemon to be different from the data of the games, be it their height, length, or weight, but still. Damn. This Pidgeot looks like it is a bit larger than 2 meters, compared to the 1.5 meters from the data. Its weight. His thoughts were interrupted by Pidgeot abruptly focusing her view on him, her eyes glinting right. From the way Dad talked of her, she should be female. But Pidgeots are not psychic types. How did she know that I was thinking about her weight, damn it? What's this, some kind of transracial female instinct? Where was 17? Not only is she over 2 meters long but her wingspan is nearly 5 meters wide as well. She looks gorgeous. Pidgeot proudly raised her head and puffed out her chest. Not supposed to be a psychic type. I am just going to ignore this and move on. Seeing a real Pokemon is better than expected. Now I just have to touch her so I can see what I can observe on her status. Mikhail stretched his arms towards Pidgeot and said to his mother, Mama, touch Pidgey. Okay, let's ask Pidgeot if she is okay with you touching her. Turning towards Pidgeot, Arya began talking to her. Sky, you have already been introduced to Edwards and my son. You heard him. Would you be alright with him touching you for a bit? If you don't want to, that's okay as well. I am sure Agni would have no problem with taking your place. PL Pidge. Pidgeot. I knew from the general knowledge in my head that Pokemon normally infuse the sound they release when they want to talk with a smidge of their energy that contains the intent of what they want to convey. They are all able to interpret that sound and understand what the other party is trying to say. For sapient ones, it's in sentences. For non-sapient ones, it's emotions or pure intent. The sound they release being their species name seems to be instinctive. The OG legendaries or the creation group probably thought might as well do it like that, while shrugging their shoulders. Humans also seem to add their energy when we talk, which is why Pokemon have no problem understanding us no matter what language we speak, but nearly all of humanity seems to have lost the ability to interpret the message instinctively. Most trainers manage to regain the ability to understand all or nearly all Pokemon. Even those that don't, learn to understand their partners. Anyway, back to Pidgeot. Seeing, or in this case hearing, is believing. All I heard her say was her name. But Mom seems to have understood what she said. Thank you, Sky. She said, no need. He can touch me if he wants to. So, Michael, take care not to pull her feathers by accident. You can stroke her feathers or just touch them, but be careful. It's your first time coming in contact with Pokemon and I don't want you to jerk in surprise or anything like that. My mother said for both my and Sky's sake, before guiding me in front of Sky and lifting me so that I can reach her wings and chest area. Thanks, Sky. As soon as Mikhail came in contact with Pidgeot's wing, he used his observe ability to check her status. Species, Pidgeot. Gender, female. Type, flying/air, normal/neutral. Potential, deep green. Stage, 7. Genetic variation, 7. Abilities, 7. Talents, 7. Affinities, 7. Mikhail looked surprised by what he saw. It seems I always get clear results on the first 3 areas. I can currently check the potential of anyone at or below stage 5. The stage area will only show clear results when it is within 4 grades of my and my Pokemon's strength. So if we are stageless, then only those at the low, bronze stage and below will be shown, otherwise a question mark is shown. For the rest of the areas, the other Pokemon has to be weaker than us. Seeing all those was something I expected. What I did not expect was for my father to have a Pokemon with deep green potential, seeing that he only became a senior class trainer. That is extremely lucky of him. Great! Sky pretty. That was all he said and all he had to say. Sky seemed genuinely happy with his comment. She proudly lifted her head and radiated an aura that said, naturally. During this time his father came from the garden to the terrace as well. He was accompanied by his Growlithe, 2 Butterfrees, and a Polwhirl. Edward started to introduce the Pokemon to Mikhail. Pointing towards Growlithe he said, "This is Agni. Agni, this is my son, Mikhail. I know you already saw him before, but this is his first seeing all of you. Please make sure to keep an eye on him and no playing until after he is 2 years old. Agni hug." Michael wanted to see Agni's status and he always loved the Arcanine line, so being able to hug a Growlithe was a dream come true. As Agni slowly came to Arya's side, she let Mikhail down so that he can reach the Growlithe. Mikhail embraced Agni's neck as soon as he came near enough. Awesome. Pure unadulterated joy is all I feel at the moment. Let me enjoy this. After hugging Agni for a minute or two, Mikhail remembered to check the Growlithe's status. Species, Growlithe. Gender, male. Type, fire. Potential, deep green. Stage? Genetic variation? Abilities? Talents? Affinities? Mikhail was shocked. Being shocked could be called an understatement. The deep green potential of Growlithe had a few light blue streaks running through it. First a deep green potential Pidgeot and now a deep green potential Growlithe that seems to be about to upgrade its potential to light blue. Just how has my father managed to accomplish that, and why is he just a senior class trainer? Is it that hard to rank up, or is there another reason why his class is not higher? According to the list I have on rarity by potential, at birth, obtaining Pokemon with potential like that is hard. The percentage differs from Pokemon species to species, but it aims at the whole species. All Pokemon of the species living on the 4 continents are considered, the Pokemon outside of them are irrelevant. Red, 10 to 70%, 10 to 70 out of 100. Orange, 10 to 50%, 10 to 50 out of 100. Yellow, 1 to 40%, 1 to 40 out of 100. Green, 0.001 to 5%, 1 out of 100.000 to 5 out of 100. Blue, 0.0001 to 0.01%, 1 out of 1.000.000, 1 out of 10.000. Purple, 0.000001 to 0.0001%, 1 out of 100.000.000, 1 out of 1.000.000. Now looking at this green potential may not seem that rare, but that's only because one forgets that the deeper the color the rarer. One of the examples I have, as part of my knowledge, explaining this list is on the Arcanine line. Red, 30%, 30 out of 100. Orange, 35%, 35 out of 100. Yellow, 34.8949%, 35, 34.8949 out of 100. Green, 0.1%, 1 out of 1.000. Blue, 0.005%, 3 out of 100.000, 1 out of 20.000. Purple, 0.0001%, 1 out of 1.000.000. I keep getting sidetracked. To keep it short, my dad is a lucky guy. Now let's see how the others look. Mikhail reluctantly let go of Agni. Edward and Arya were amused by their son's behavior. Arya continued the introduction. These two are Cyan and Emerald. While pointing at the Butterfrees, she took him into her arms so that he can reach the fluttering Pokemon. Hello, came from Mikhail before he proceeded to touch both. First his father's Butterfree, Cyan, and then his mother's Butterfree, Emerald. Species, Butterfree. Gender, male. Type, bug, flying/air. Potential, light yellow. Stage, 7. Genetic variation, 7. Abilities, 7. Talents, 7. Affinities, 7. Mikhail seemed relieved after touching Cyan and seeing his status. Thanks sellable, light yellow potential. For a moment I started to think my father is a hidden plot character type person. Not to say that it would not be cool or anything if he was, but it was so out the range of my expectations that it shocked me. Let's see the status of mother's Butterfree. Species, Butterfree. Gender, female. Type, bug, flying/air. Potential, light green stage. Genetic variation. Abilities. Talents. Affinities. Mikhail was surprised by what he saw but composed himself fairly quickly. Meanwhile, his parents and their Pokemon were enjoying the show Mikhail, with his reactions and facial expressions, put on. Oh, common. Are you for real? A light green potential Butterfree. Do I really have hidden plot character type parents? Is that Poliwhirl going to have green potential as well? Those are supposed to be rare. Let's just check the last status and relax afterwards. A short time later, Mikhail signaled his mother, by patting her arms and pointing at Poliwhirl, that he wanted to go to there. That's Rivers, one of my partners. His mother told him after letting him down and guiding him to Poliwhirl. Mikhail touched Rivers' belly, which felt slightly wet, and checked its status. Species, Poliwhirl. Gender, male. Type, water. Potential, deep green. Stage? Genetic variation? Abilities? Talents? Affinities? Deep green. How do my parents not have higher trainer classes? You know what, I give up. Let's just enjoy being on the terrace surrounded by Pokemon and my parents before I have to go to sleep. No matter how great I am, my body is that of a toddler and needs its sleep. Mikhail and his parents stayed on the terrace for another hour before they went inside and Arya put him on his bed. Mikhail, whose fatigue caught up, fell asleep right away. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching and make sure to check out the Discord. Like and subscribe and I'll see you in part 2. Peace.